Pope Francis will not be attending the UN's climate conference, COP28, after all. Well, that might be a good thing, but with his health as the issue, what battles are awaiting the cardinals in replacing him? Dr. Jules Gomez will be returning from vacation next week, but join us with insights and analysis, Church Militant's very own Dr. William Mahoney. William, we all miss Jules very much, and you know we're stuck with you for now. So thank you for being with us and trying to fill Jules' boots.
I miss Jules too. I mean, having to do this every morning, it's kind of rough, but he does a great job, and I want to apologize to everyone watching that I'm not Jules, and I too can't wait till he's back.
So, well, okay, so back on the story, Pope Francis was going to make history by attending the Globalist Climatism Summit, COP28, that starts Friday, but he's pulled out at the last minute. What's going on?
So he's been sick. He on Saturday he had some pulmonary tests. He has pulmonary inflammation, and he's on a intravenous drip, I believe. So he's pulled out of it, and I think he couldn't do the Angelus on Sunday either. So he's going to be 87 next month. So let's just say more of his pontificate is behind him now than in front of him.
So the Pope's role, is to uphold the deposit of faith, not really rubber stamp some unsettled science. So why would the atheist UN, at their own gig, seek his presence at this event?
I mean, do you think the devil minds having people on his side? He doesn't care. The end game is the same. So I think, of course, they're going to love to have the Pope there because it gives this veneer of Catholicism approving of their agenda. So they're going to eat that up, of course.
As of Sunday, he was planning on attending. Seemed like a big deal for him to go. And now he's not, citing ill health. What's that really say about his health in light of the last couple years?
I mean, in the last 2 years, he's been hospitalized 3 times, and there have been other incidents as well. I mean, we've all seen him at an audience or coming out onto the stage, and he's limping. He has trouble walking. I mean, I believe he only has one lung, and now that one's inflamed. So it's pretty obvious his health is deteriorating.
So being 87, as you say, and with various health issues, Francis will need replacing, perhaps sooner than later. I was reading an article by a Vatican journalist, Christopher Altieri. It was published on Sunday, Catholic World Report. It kind of got my mind going here. It speaks of some hurdles the cardinals will perhaps face in replacing Francis. Here's a quote from that article. He says, Altieri writes, "First, whoever gets the job will be inheriting a substantial mess. So it will be important to pick someone who won't try to fix everything all at once." So William, your take on the level of the mess needing to be cleaned up and how the future Pope that's soon to be elected, or may soon be elected, what's he going to need to do to clean up that mess?
Brad, I don't know what mess do you refer. This is a golden age of the church, and of course I'm being completely sarcastic. Yes, mess is an understatement. The next pope who comes in, I pity him. That is going to be quite a cross. I think in that article that you bring up, I read that as well. It's a pretty good article. He talks about how one of the things that the next pope coming in should do is not try to solve everything at once. I agree with that. I think that's true. You really have to go after one thing at a time and kind of slowly turn things around. I mean, the mess wasn't created overnight. Then there's no overnight solution either. So I think you're going to have to sort of little by little clean things up. Another thing he mentions in the article is he suggests not doing a complete overhaul and to bring in only your own core guys. I think that's pretty accurate. You want to keep the people in place, at least in the beginning, because they know the apparatus and how things run. But I think a good pope, the next pope should definitely bring in some of his own guys for his own, for counsel and to help him change things, and then little by little weed out the bad factions and the curia and put in new guys. But again, that would be over time that you would do that.
So, my thoughts here would be he needs to first of all really define for the public Maybe not himself, maybe he has, scattered smattering of thoughts here and there that kind of piece it together. But what the church's mission really is. What is the church's mission? Is it to be, a glorified social worker? Is it to be the champion of the impoverished and the right? Or is it to save souls? And if it's the salvation of souls is the church's mission, primary mission, that really needs to be nailed down for people so that they know what Holy Mother Church is. And then it seems like the doctrinal confusion, because there's a lot of confusion on what the mission of the church is today. It's everything from socialism to triumphalism, if you will. And then come in the doctrinal confusion that, if there is a clear mission, what is the church's true belief on key issues? And that lack of clarity right there, is a problem. And then pastoral practice needs to follow what the church's teaching is. And then that has to be in conformity, giving communion to the divorced and remarried, and, like in Germany, they just have the runaway blessings of same-sex unions and all this type of stuff. There has to be a conformity there across the board. And then the final thing is to market the church, an authentic outreach to market the church for what she is and what she teaches and the practices, and really have, as the market the church for what she is as a necessary means of salvation of souls, a necessary and supernatural means for the salvation of souls, to really present that to the world. I don't think that's really being done or has even been done for quite some time. Your take on all that?
That was a lot, Brad, but I would say, one thing about this article that I found lacking was nowhere in the article does the author mention really the primary purpose of the church. He was addressing it from a more political, human standpoint. But of course, as you mentioned, I mean, the real purpose of the church is salus animarum suprema lex, right? The supreme law is the salvation of souls. And that is the purpose of, the Pope oversees that. While you were talking about, this is the church just to help the poor, or is it to save souls? Well, it's both, of course. So the Pope oversees a church which is called to both the corporal and the spiritual works of mercy. So we don't just ignore that people are starving or anything. I mean, Jesus made that abundantly clear that that's part of the Last Judgment. However, the purpose of feeding and taking care of the body is to prepare people so that they can receive the greater and higher things of the soul. And even our Lord, who took passion on the crowd because they were hungry and didn't want to send them home without eating, worked the miracle of the fish and loaves, and then later explained that had a deeper meaning than just feeding them. It tied into the Eucharist and how he wanted to feed them spiritually. So the corporal works of mercy point towards the spiritual works of mercy, and the Pope should be overseeing a church which preaches Jesus and Jesus Christ crucified, just like St. Paul did, which does help take care of bodies through, but also primarily is leaning towards saving souls. So that was not addressed, and I would hope mostly that the next Pope is, before anything else, before being smart and political, I would hope first and foremost he's humble and he's holy, and that he surrounds himself with men who are humble and holy.
Well said, well said. So you actually do know something after all, William.
When you let me talk, Brad, I sometimes I have something to say.
Let you get a word in edgewise.
Thanks.
So Church Militant is preparing, actually with William's great help here, to have a focused coverage when the Pope eventually passes, and follow-up coverage of that through Rome Dispatch and also through another program that William's helping to produce on all the cardinals that could possibly be elected and what's their standing and status and all that. And all of that up until the future Pope walks out onto the loggia in St. Peter's after he's elected. So please pray for Pope Francis now that when the time comes, when God calls him, that he has a well provided for passing, and also for the future Pope who will be replacing him, probably sooner than later, who will have to clean up what Altieri calls a substantial mess. William, thank you so much for filling in for Jules and bringing us your own personal insights on this important topic.
You're welcome. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks again for watching today's episode of Rome Dispatch. This show is brought to you by donors like Real Estate for Life. If you're looking to buy or sell a home and want to support our mission, visit realestateforlife.org. Again, that's realestateforlife.org. Be sure to tell them Church Militant sent you. God bless.